Good morning, everyone. My name is Marty Hicks. My website is helloextraordinarylife.com. I am your relationship coach, and I get to help people loving themselves from the inside out. I think that's a lack in our culture of truly loving ourselves in that deep place. A lot of us look externally for that to fill the internal need, and in my experience, it's just never worked. We're coming to the end of my first pilot 6-week course. We will end, I forgot it was a holiday. I scheduled it right over a holiday, so that didn't work. So we'll complete next week. We have a couple more calls left, so that's been amazing. It's just been an amazing time with everyone. And then I'm going to roll out another one in July. So if any of you are interested, look for information about that. And you can go to my website. There's a free offer there for the beginning steps of loving yourself on the inside out. Today, I wanted to talk about delivery and timing. It's a learned skill. I've learned this skill. I'm not always very good at it. I forget sometimes and say something totally out of timing, and it just doesn't land very well. And I've been in conversation with someone, several actually, about how do I bring this to someone, or how do I say this to someone, or how do I not say it like this? Because they just blurt it out for the moment of reaction. Maybe they're having a moment of it's been building up. If any of you read my story about Lou, we were eating dinner one night, and he finally, like, it was building in him, and he kept trying to deal with this thing. He told me I smacked my food. I thought, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know that I do that. I was taught to eat with my mouth closed. And he said, I kept trying to deal with it and just deal with it, and it's just some little thing about you, but it just drove him crazy to the point of, and he just blurted it out right at dinner time, right as I'm eating my food. And I instantly became 5 years old. I'm in trouble, and I was bad and wrong, and whatever I made all that mean. And I've been in conversation with some other people that have had similar conversations. They don't know. It just builds to the point of it comes out sideways because they haven't addressed it along the way, or they tried to deal with it, or it didn't bother them in 1 minute and something else is bothering them, and now it's compounding to this next thing. It comes out sideways. So I've learned that timing is everything, and how we deliver it. And sometimes it doesn't matter how I deliver it. It's not going to land well, depending on what I'm delivering. If I'm ending a relationship, getting a divorce, it doesn't usually land well no matter when I deliver it. If it's something about something that's not working in my relationship or just didn't land very well, then there's a place and a timing for delivering that to a person in a way that they can hear it. Someone said something one day, and she was having a bad day, and she said something to me, and it's like, what's not to understand about the words I just used, or something like that. And it just landed not right, and I wasn't sure what it was. I sat with it, finished the conversation, and I realized later that, first of all, it's just not okay to talk to me that way. It's rude and out of line, and that's my own loving myself enough to say that it's not okay, no matter what kind of day you're having, to be an asshole to me. And she became my mom. So there was two things that happened in that incident, and later I brought it to her. It came very spontaneous, very organically in a conversation. I just put it out to the universe, and I said, if there's a conversation to be had here about this thing, then please allow that situation to present itself. And I do that a lot. When I think that I should handle a situation or deliver something or say something to someone, I allow it to come naturally rather than trying to make it happen. That's not true of all situations, but in this particular instance, it came up in a conversation about her and her boyfriend, and very organically I was able to bring to her how it landed for me and how it's not okay to talk to me that way. Just the tone, the delivery, all that stuff. And she was like, I never intended that. I would not try to hurt you. And I get that. But somewhere along the way, someone said to me, just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean you get to treat other people badly. Okay. So timing. Sometimes it's about asking someone for a conversation. Hey, can we talk? It's about this. You give them a little context. That I don't know how it all lands for you, and so someone says to you, oh, hey, we need to talk. It doesn't always, that piece right there, we need to talk. It's like, oh, crap, the other shoe's going to fall or something like that. I know Lou does that. He's like, it freezes him. He just goes, what's wrong? Give a little context. Here's what I want to talk to you about. It's not a big deal. It's just when it's a good time. So they have time. Your person that you're going to talk to also has some time to prepare for the conversation, and they're not feeling blindsided. And then the delivery. Sometimes it's asking a question rather than stating how it is for me. Sometimes I'll inquire. I'll turn my thought or my statement about what I see or how I think it is for me into a question for them for something to consider. Have you ever considered? Do you think? Something that allows them an open space to hear what I'm bringing rather than just telling them what's so for me, because that may not be true for them. And sometimes I'm delivering something to someone that they have no idea that it landed that way for me, or maybe they have something to say to me that I had no idea how it landed for them. I say something totally innocent, have no idea that I hurt someone's feelings along the way. When they come back, and they deliver that to me, we have no idea how we impact someone unless they tell us, good or bad. And it's always about how do they deliver that to me in a way that I can hear that. And back to the beginning, sometimes it doesn't matter how it gets delivered, it's not going to land well. We have, and I learned this, if anybody's done landmark education, we have an already, always listening. Already, always listening. Sometimes I'm listening for the certain words or cues or body language that will validate what's true for me in my own mind. If I feel unworthy or I feel like I did something incorrectly or I hurt someone's feelings, I'm going to listen for those cue words in the conversation to validate that for myself. And they called it in that education, already always listening. We have a place we're always listening from. And sometimes when someone delivers something or I'm delivering something, they're listening too for those cue words. And it doesn't matter how I say it, they're listening for that thing. I think I'm saying it well. I think I'm delivering it appropriately. And they're often running on something that I never even said. And I think, well, what did you just hear? What did you just hear that I said? And when it comes back, it's nothing I said or not what I meant. So there's our opportunity to get clean in our relationships. And it's our responsibility. That's the thing about our life here today it's our responsibility. We're all here. We all know that. It's my responsibility. It's your responsibility for how I deliver it and my timing of delivering things. There's another thing I've done, and I've coached some people on this, is when someone says something that hurts my feelings, rather than getting angry about it or getting my feelings all that get hurt, I just go, ow. And they're like, what? I'm like, that don't hurt my feelings. And they're like, oh, but it's not I made them bad and wrong about it. I just said, ow. Or have the conversation. The other piece of this in the delivery part is have a conversation with someone when it's not charged in the emotion and the reaction. In the moment, I'm hurt or I'm angry or you're angry and I say something back, there's no real conversation now. We're just reacting to each other. So I've been telling this few people I've been having conversations with to have it when you're not in the moment. You know, this happened. Can we talk about it? Can we negotiate how we want to be in those situations? Because when I'm in the moment, no matter what my words are, it's already charged. And the person is going to get my emotion under it, my feeling under it, no matter what the words are saying. My second husband used to tell me to stop yelling at him, and I would be talking just like this, but my energy was screaming at him because I was so angry or I was so frustrated about whatever the situation was. And it took me a little while to understand that. So when I'm in a moment of a conversation and it's heated or it's charged or we're reacting to each other, just come back to it. Hey, can we talk about that? And can we negotiate how we want to be when this occurs? Because generally it does. It occurs again. And then I can negotiate how I want to be. I was teasing Lou one day, and I said, I'm going to call you CF. And he was like, what does that mean? I said, control freak. And I made it light, and we had a good laugh about it. And then later on I said, oh, I'm going to just start calling you super freak. And we laughed about that because I thought of the song immediately. And he's like, ooh, I like that. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's just going back to the control freak. But what it did is it lightened it, and it took the charge out of whatever was going on in the moment. And it lets the other person know we've already had this conversation and we've negotiated how we want to talk about it or how we want to lighten it up in the moment when I get my feelings hurt or I feel like the other person is trying to control the situation. So creating those places of how to deliver it so that it can be heard and lands effectively. All about timing. And sometimes sometimes I think Spirit just speaks through me and it comes out and I'm like, oh, I just said that out loud. What do I do with that? I can't take it back. But I can certainly stay in the conversation until it's done. I think that's what I have for today. Okay, let me unmute you. How was that?
It was great.
Anybody have any? Thank you. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Margie, I do have a comment. This is Jaylee, and I apologize if it's noisy. I'm out and about. I absolutely loved what you said about regardless of you asking for the time, sometimes our negative bias will make us think that, what's coming ahead. So I love what you said about that, like setting the frame of the discussion so that, the people that we love, their minds are open to welcome what it is that we have to say. And just to add to that, something that I have found very effective too is to make sure that we let people know that, hey, the only reason why I want to have this discussion is because I love you and I want to continue to make a connection between our differences. And I find that when we say to somebody we need to have a talk, immediately they go in the off place. But if we just add this little tidbit, it kind of sets the stage for something positive to come out versus, she wants to have the talk. So,
right? Thank you.
Thank you.
I made it through without coughing and just had to mute myself. So, anybody else? Words of wisdom to add?
This is Susan J. I like the idea of being able to approach it later. What I find sometimes, and it's kind of like what you explained with what happened with, the person that had stated what she had stated, and it didn't hit right, and yet you gave yourself some time to think about it, because not always do I find that. That I find myself reacting right away, or I might react, but I'm afraid of the words that will come out. So I like that ability to pause, and if I need to pause beyond the moment and come back to it, it was important for me to learn that I could do that, because there was a point where I would think, well, I didn't say it, so I'm out of luck. I can't, I just have to, stuff that, and knowing that I can come back and say what I need to say later, it was a good acknowledgement for me to be able to do that. But it's okay, whenever I do that.
Yes. Sometimes it's just bringing it back to, remember when we had this conversation? I'd like to share with you whatever that is.
Exactly.
How it landed for me. And it's all about that, what am I saying? This is how it landed for me, so I'm taking ownership. This is how it hit me in that moment. Or so that it's not, you did da-da-da-da-da, because that creates defensiveness automatically. But taking that ownership and being responsible for our own feelings.
Right.
It took me a while. It took me a long time to learn that I could come back to the conversation, because I did the same thing you do or have done. And that is to, I'm just SOL now. I didn't say it in the moment. Exactly. What happens for me if I didn't say it in the moment and I don't ever address it, but without dealing with it, it'll come out sideways when something happens again. Because I'm still
exactly.
I still have the piece from the first time that wasn't dealt with. Whether I spoke of it or not, as long as I deal with it, lose the charge around it, then it doesn't bother me. But if it happens again and I haven't dealt with it, it often comes out sideways. Because now I have a double whammy.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything they want to share or comment? We are so quiet today.
Hi, this is Alicia. I'm in a crowded airport lobby on a layover in Atlanta, and so I'm just listening today. But I love the topic, and I'm processing it, and I just wanted you to know that I'm quiet today because I'm in a crowded place and I don't really have privacy to talk.
Thanks for letting me know that. I knew you were traveling. I just didn't realize it was right now.
Yep, right now. We're on a layover.
Right now. Well, I'm glad you made it to the call then.
Me too.
Awesome. Okay, well, if nobody has any last-minute burning desire, we can end the call a couple minutes early.
Sounds
okay.
Good.
I will take that as a silence is a consent that we are complete.
Yeah, I'm complete. I'm complete.
Have a great week, and I will hear you next week. Same time, same bat channel.
Marty.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Marty.
you.